Let's get into the next game, which is a redemption game for my team, the Texas Longhorns. Go on the road to Nashville and what's probably going to be a home game away from home, because I bet there's going to be way more Texas fans in Nashville than there are Vanderbilt fans. And Texas averages 39.1 points per game, which is 11th in the country. Yards per play, 6.4, which is 20th in the country. Yards per rush is 4.7, 49th in the country. Yards per pass is 8.6, 17th in the country, and sack percentage is 5.12%, which is 53rd in the country. Obviously, after the Georgia game, that has taken a big dip. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. 9.7 points per game, first in the country. 3.6 yards per play allowed, which is first in the country. 3.1 yards per rush, which is 11th in the country. And then 4.5 yards per pass, which is first in the country. 8.04% sack rate. That is 23rd in the country. Now let's move over to those Vanderbilt Commodores. 29.5 points per game on offense, 46th in the country. 5.6 yards per play, 59th in the country. 3.7 yards per rush, which is 92nd in the country. 9.2 yards per pass, which is 10th in the country. Sack percentage is 5.96% allowed, which is 62nd in the country. Defensively, they're not a lot better from last year. The offense definitely is, but the defense isn't. 25.8 points per game given up, 69th in the country. 5.9 yards per play, 87th in the country. 4.3 yards per rush, 73rd in the country. 7.7 yards per pass, which is 87th in the country. 6.37% sack rate, which is 59th in the country. Tyler, I'm going to let you start this one out as well.
18.5 is a lot, but just look what happened to Vandy last week, and really for Texas as well. But let's start off with Vandy. Vandy played terrible. They look like last year's Vanderbilt's team. Not a lot of people watch them against Ball State. That was a 4-quarter game. For whatever reason, that was a 4-quarter game. They had a lot of mistakes there. Not really turnover issues, but Ball State was kind of able to limit the Vanderbilt offense, and that's going to be a key for Texas. But then you look at Texas. You know, they played by Georgia Bulldogs. It was a tough, gritty game, but Texas got pushed around, 7 total sacks. How does Texas respond after a huge loss, an emotional loss? I'm not necessarily sure. Now, if you date back to last year's Auburn game for Georgia, Georgia beat Auburn, close game. Only 2 teams that have played Georgia have went ahead the next week and one outright covered. 2 teams were, I think, Missouri last year and then Kentucky after the Kentucky game. So that's how many teams in a row, how many teams have not covered after a game they played Georgia. So I'm leaning towards the cover here for Vanderbilt. I don't think Vanderbilt's some great team, but I will say they're having an amazing season for Vandy. Being 5-2, being ranked in the top 25 for the first time since the James Franklin era, I do believe, is something to hang your hat with. There should be a lot of Texas fans here, but Vandy's going to sell out this crowd, believe it or not. And it's not a big crowd. Vandy has the worst home field advantage in college, not college football, but in the SEC. It's not close. But Vandy's offense is very underrated with Diego Pavia, who is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in college football. Vandy has the number 7th ranked passing efficient offense. It's kind of crazy for me for anyone to say, but those RPOs are very tough to stop. That's why you got to slow them down. You have to be very disciplined. I don't know how Texas responds. I really don't. I know Texas is way better than Vanderbilt. I just know that for a fact. The roster meets their coaching staff better than Vanderbilt's, but can Vanderbilt kind of do what they did against Alabama, which was play, hog the football? They had the ball for, I believe, 40 minutes. 42 minutes.
42 minutes.
42 minutes. Can they do that against Texas? I think they possibly can, but they're going to have to win the first downs like they did against Alabama, where they just where they had Pavia run the RPO, either hand it off inside for 4 yards or throw it out to Stowers there for 5-6 yards. I think this is going to be a 4-quarter game, believe it or not. I actually do love Vanderbilt to cover. I think Texas outright wins, but there's something about this Vanderbilt team and Diego Pavia that I just can't say anything bad about them. And I kind of wanted to, and I know a lot of, it's Vanderbilt. I don't want to pick on Vandy, but with how this Vanderbilt has been playing thus far this year, the exception to the Ball State game, I don't know what happened to Vandy. I'm hoping they were just looking ahead. But their defense is starting to get better. Their offense is more efficient. And I do think they're going to sit on the football as much as they can. I think Texas will win this game, but it's going to be close, and it's going to be a weird game. 4:15 game time after a loss. Maybe Texas is, expecting somewhat of a hangover game. I think that's this game, but I think Texas wins something like 30-24. I think Vandy's going to be able to get some points here, push this into the fourth quarter. But I think Texas wins outright. Give me the Commodores at home in 18.5.
Yeah, so when I was breaking this down yesterday on the Texas channel, what I saw, Quinn Ewers is going to have to make some change, or something's going to have to happen at the quarterback position, because there's so many plays. Again, I'll mention this guy because he did a good job on Twitter. There's this guy named Pax Burner. He got the all-22 film, basically took screenshots, and Quinn Ewers ran himself into so many sacks and did not take what was available to him in that Georgia game. He cannot do that versus Vanderbilt team. To me, this is a get right for this team as a whole. I'm not going to say the defense. Defense played well enough to win versus Georgia, but the offense as a whole has to play better this week versus Vanderbilt. And to me, if Texas is going to compete to win a national championship this year, they take care of business in this game rather easily. Now, does that mean cover? No, but I'm talking like 17 to 20 points. I think if they do cover, it will be a very tight cover. And Vanderbilt, like you said, very efficient on offense. And the key, like you said, again, first down, and you got to play gap disciplined football. You got to be able to stop that basically triple option type offense, stay in your running lanes, and get them down on first down and create like a 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12. Because Vanderbilt's not good enough to where it's 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12. They're not winning on those opportunities very often. And like you said, the key for them, to me, for them to have a chance to win this game, because they barely beat Alabama when they had 42 minutes of time of possession, they're going to have 35 plus minutes of time of possession in this game. If they do not win time of possession, they are going to get skull dragged, because that they have to. That's like their main key, is just holding on to that football. So I do think Texas covers. I think it's very close. By the way, I predicted this game before I knew what the spread was. I said 33-14. That's exactly 19 points, and it was 19 points yesterday. So yesterday I wouldn't have taken it. 18.5, I would take it. I'm not confident in that. But I do think Texas probably wins somewhere between 17 to 20 points. I do believe, especially what I heard in the press conference, Sark's going to try to run the ball more, because guess what? The one drive that they had success in the Georgia game, they ran the ball more. So they need to run the ball way more in this game, especially versus Vanderbilt, and they need to get off to a fast start offensively. If you can get Vanderbilt down 10-0 and get them out of their normal routine and offensive rhythm, you can easily win this football game.
Yeah, and that was kind of going to be my alt on the other side. I actually think Vanderbilt's front seven can limit the rush here. They did against Alabama. They actually played decent against Kentucky. Say what you want with that. Still gave them 150 yards. Missouri, they gave up a lot of rushing yards. But I'm telling you, this Vandy team's actually getting better. They are pretty efficient through the air. And with Pavia and how he runs that offense, it's a, like you said, triple, but there's also the tight end aspect to make it really quadruple option. He can pitch it inside. Vanderbilt wins the first downs. That's huge. But on the defensive side, they're going to have to play some drop back zones and shut down the run as best as they can, or at least limit the rush as best as they can. I think they can, like I said, I definitely think Vandy can compete here. They're not going to be able to run the football as much as, you would want. I mean, it's Vandy here. They don't have the offensive line or the push and really the running backs. Alexander's okay. Newberry is not very good. Money, he's, again, not very good. But with Diego Pavia, he's going to have to be able to rush the football in this game and basically carry his team to victory like he did against Alabama. I don't think it's going to be enough, but I do think Vandy can make this into a fourth quarter game. That's why I'm going to take the points there.
It's definitely a possibility. It definitely could happen. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I think you'll know pretty early. Like if it's 14-0 Texas after the first quarter, Vanderbilt's not going to cover, in my opinion. Yeah. Like they're going to have to get off to a quick start. So we'll see, but we're on opposite sides here. You went barely over here with 54 and I went under by a little bit. And then you took Vandy and I'm taking Texas.